back to my channel, and if you're new here, then welcome. My name is Maddie, and today I'll be sharing with you my TBR for November. October was another successful reading month. I read 8 books, which in my terms is pretty successful, so I'm hoping that'll transfer over to November. I still really want to read in November, but I might, this is a very strong might, I might end up participating in NaNoWriMo. It's like 2 days away from November, and I'm still on the fence if I want to join NaNoWriMo, but I might do that. I've been really wanting to get back into writing, so I might write a little fan fiction, some Fruits Basket fan fiction. That sounds really good. I might do that, so if I do end up writing a lot, obviously I'm not going to read a lot because I'll be too busy writing, but it just depends on my mood. So if I do NaNoWriMo this year, I'm not going to take it too seriously because I'm like, I don't know if I want to write or if I want to read more. So I don't know how this month is going to go, but I'm going to make a TBR anyway and just hope I can get to at least most of these. So again, if you don't know what a TBR is, it's a video where I share with you the books that I plan to read in the following month. So it's pretty simple. So let's just get right into it. So because I didn't get to all the books on my TBR for October, I'm going to transfer some of those books over to this month that I still really want to read. I just didn't get a chance to get to them last month. One of those is Legendary. This is the second book in the 𝑐𝑟𝑡 series, a series I've been very on the fence about because I didn't enjoy the first book. Like, I liked it okay, but it wasn't amazing. But I still want to give this series a try because my mom really likes it and she really wants me to continue it, so I'm just going to continue it because of that. But I actually was looking at Goodreads reviews for this one, and they were pretty good. A lot of people said it's better than the first book, so that's giving me hope. So we're going to try it out, at least. Then I also have Too Late by Colleen Hoover. I've mentioned in my October TBR that this is the next book by Colleen Hoover that I really want to get to, so I'm going to also try to get to it this month because I really want to get back into Colleen Hoover. Her books are so good. And I think those are the only 2 books from last month's TBR that I'm transferring over to this month's TBR. The rest of them are all new, so let's get into those. This one I want to get to like right away because it is my Owl Crate book for October, and that is Jade Firegold. So this one is a fantasy, and I am, like I said, I'm not the hugest fantasy person, but when I'm in the mood for a fantasy, I will pick fantasy up. So hopefully I'll be in the mood for fantasy this month. I am rereading A Court of Thorns and Roses, that whole series, so that's already kind of fulfilling my fantasy kick, and I'm afraid that while I continue rereading that series, I'm going to be over fantasy. So that's worrying me that I'll be too over fantasy to get to this one. Because like I said, I really have to be in the mood for a fantasy book to read it. So we'll just see how it goes. But my goal is to try to get to my Owl Crate books like the second I get them. So that's why I'm putting it on my TBR. I don't know a lot of what it's about. I can't remember a lot of what it's about. I did read the synopsis, but left my memory as always, but I know it's an Asian-inspired fantasy, and that sounds pretty interesting because I'm really big into the Asian culture. I love that culture. It's like my favorite culture, so I think I'll enjoy this one because of it, so we'll see. Then I have The Legacy. This is the 5th book in the Off-Campus series by 𝐿_Kennedy. I finished that whole series, so I really want to get to The Legacy. It is a compilation book of novellas from each of the couples throughout this series, so they're just filled with short stories. So I feel like that's going to be really, really fun to read because I love the couples in this series. And speaking of the Off-Campus series, I also have The Chase by 𝐿_Kennedy on my TBR for this month. So this is the first book in a spin-off series of the Off-Campus series. So it takes place in the same world, the same characters show up in the background, but we also follow new characters that take place on this college where the whole world is set at. And I've heard pretty good things about this spin-off series, so I'm really looking forward to it. I actually know the main character of this book because she is one of the sisters of the guys we follow in the first book, and she showed up in one of the books, and I found her super fascinating, and also the love interest, the guy, also shows up a lot in the off-campus series. So because I know these characters so well, I feel like I'm going to already have that bond with them and understand them a lot to where I'm going to really enjoy this one, because I really do like these characters that we're going to follow. So I'm really looking forward to this one. This is going to be one of the first books I get to in October because of that, and I'm just super excited. The next one I have is going to be a reread. I've been really wanting to reread this series, so I'm looking forward to it, and that is Paper Princess by Erin Watt. This is the first book in the Royal series. I have talked about this series a lot. I really enjoyed this series when I read it 3 years ago. Was it that long ago? It was like 2 or 3 years ago, so it was quite a bit ago. So much so that I know I need to reread this series so I can experience it all again because it's been a while. So I'm going to start off with the first book. And since I have read this series before, I can tell you a little bit of what it's about. So it follows this girl, and she is adopted into this family because I can't quite remember the reason. I think it's because her mom died. So she has nowhere else to go. So this guy, who is super rich, adopts her because he's a family friend, and he has 5 sons, and she gets involved with them and their whole world, and a lot of romance and drama ensues as she starts to fall in love with one of the guys. It is a lot. It is super dramatic, so much so that it can get cringy, but it's like a good type of cringy. It's like so much drama that you can't help but just watch it all unfold. It's pretty epic. So it's a series I would highly recommend if you're into like new adult romance, because I do believe this falls into that category. It's super good, and I'm really looking forward to rereading this series. And like I mentioned, I am currently rereading the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, so next one I am on is A Court of Wings and Ruin, which is the 3rd book in the series. I am currently reading it, but since I haven't finished it before October ended, I'm just transferring it over into my November TBR. This one, it is my least favorite book in the series so far. I just don't love it as much as the other books, and I think the reason why is because this book focuses more on war instead of the romance, which is the aspect of this series that I love the most. So because of that, I think that's why I don't love this one as much as the other books. I still enjoy it though. When I first read this book initially, I did give it a 4 out of 5 stars, so it wasn't horrible, but compared to the other books, I just don't love it as much. So for that reason, it's a little hard for me to get through this one. I definitely go through this one a lot more slowly than I do the 1st and 2nd book, but I still enjoy it. It is still interesting. There's still a lot going on, so it does still keep me invested. So I'm definitely going to finish this one this month, and then once I do, I am finally going to get to A Court of Silver Flames, which is the newest book in the series that I have not read yet because I wanted to reread the series before I get into this one, but now that I'm getting through A Court of Wings and Ruin, and I should be finishing it soon, I can finally start this book, which I'm so excited. It's been one of my most anticipated books because I love this series so much. So I am super looking forward to getting into it finally, and I cannot wait to let y'all know what I thought about it. And the last 2 books I have on my TBR are books from Kindle Unlimited because, like I've mentioned, I do have Kindle Unlimited, so I want to make sure I get to books from KU, so I'm not just like having a subscription for no reason. So I definitely want to get to these this month for sure.
Hello, future me here. I did have 2 Kindle books on my TBR, but I ended up finishing one of them before October ended because I was so into it I could not put it down. That means so far I only have 1 book from Kindle Unlimited on my TBR this month. Anyway, the Kindle book I finished was The Air He Breathes by Brittany C. Cherry, and I will talk about it in my October wrap-up.
The first one is Corrupt by Penelope Douglas. This is the first book in the Devil's Night series. I have read Penelope Douglas before. I actually just finished a book from her called Punk 57, which was good. Some years ago back, I also read Birthday Girl by her, which I absolutely loved. So I am very familiar with her books and I quite enjoy them. So I do want to try out more from her, and this series is a really popular one from her, so I've been very intrigued by it and wanting to get to it soon. I do know it's a dark romance, which most of her books, I think pretty much all of her books are dark romances, which is a genre I am very much into, so I feel like I'll be into this one. I don't know much of what it's about besides that, but I have a good feeling about it. So I lied. I actually forgot. I wanted to include one more book on this TBR because I wanted to try this out again. So back when I was, active on BookTube before my big break, I would do this thing in my TBR videos where I would choose by a random number generator. I would use that number that correlates on my want to read shelf on Goodreads, and whatever number that matches is the book that I put on my TBR, that I add to it. And I did this because I realized I had so many books on my TBR that I would forget about them. So using this method of, picking a book at random and adding it to my TBR and forcing me to read that book because it's the book that was picked, it helps so that I remembered that book existed. So that way I can get to it right away because now I remembered it existed. And now I have to read it because it's the book that was randomly chosen to put on my TBR. So I find this method really useful. So I'm going to do it again, and I have an app that generates a number, so we're going to see what number comes up and what book that matches on my want to read shelf on Goodreads. So let's see. Alright, so the number is 442, so let's see what book it is. This is the exciting part. I love the whole mystery of it. It's like, ooh, what book is this going to be? I love it. I miss doing this. I'm glad I thought to do it again. So the book that came up is A Lady of Rogsgrave Manor. So this is one I actually just recently put on my TBR. I heard about it from, it's a Jess from Peace Love Books. She's a romance booktuber, and I get a lot of my romance book recommendations from her. So she recommended this one. It said it was really good. I know I think it involves monsters. It has a kind of horror, gothic feel to it, I think. So that's a kind of vibe I'm really into. So I think I'll enjoy this one. And she said she really liked it, so I feel like I will too. So we'll try it out. I'm glad this one came up. I've been wanting to get to this one since I first heard about it, and now I have to get to it because it is my goal to get to my random number generated books that I have to add to my TBR. So I'm looking forward to it. That was my TBR for November. Let me know if you have read any of these books, what you thought of them, because I would really like to know. That'll really hype me up to read them if you have some praise for them. So yeah, leave me some comments. I'd like to know. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more anime-related videos and book-related videos. And if you'd like to follow me on social media, those links are in the description box, and I'll be back really soon. Bye!